quite a bit, and you're not going to get no points and four turnovers out of Cliff Clinkscales a lot. You're not going to get 4 for 12 from Mike Poole a lot. You're not going to get and look, obviously Tyron Watson's a little bit banged up. He's not playing tonight. Looks like he's in civvies, so they've got some stuff to work on. But this is a well-coached team, and these players got high pedigree. I think they're going to turn it around and be a solid team. I mean, you can't really doubt the pedigree of the players and of the organization as well.
And an interesting thing to think about as well, even though this is a home game for the Moncton Magic, this is the first time that both of these teams will be shooting on these rims in real live game action. So a very different feel. It's a much larger venue here at the Avenir Center compared to the Coliseum. So it may take a little bit of time for both these teams kind of just to get used to the depth perception and the shooting here at the Avenir Center. We are just underway, still no score. Halifax on the attack. We are glad to have you with us watching this game live from Moncton, New Brunswick. And here is one of the returning vets, Cliff Clinkscales, the floor general. Mike Poole now. He steps back from the outside corner. 3 no good, but cleaned up underneath. And getting the putback there was Devontae Elliott.
And Elliott, along with his fellow front court mate and Jordan Washington, who got the start tonight as well. They both fouled out in the first game, struggled a lot, and that's when you. Not only is it a new venue, but it's a new league for a lot of these guys, new refereeing style for a lot of these guys, and both their big name front court guys fouled out in 21 minutes collectively in the first game. So it was a tough sledding for them a little bit, but they'll probably adjust. And these guys are smart basketball players. They'll adjust to the refereeing and that sort of thing as well.
Here's Denzel Taylor, 16 boards the other night against Halifax. And from the Halifax perspective, keep an eye on number 20, Joel Kindred. He had a big night the other night for the Halifax Hurricanes in that loss to the Magic, but he played exceptionally well.
He played extremely well, but then on the counter to that, in the second half, he didn't get his first hoop until about halfway through the fourth quarter. And you can look at none other than Mr. Wayne McCullough as the reason for that. You watch that game, he really put the clamps on it in the second half, and unlike the first game, Halifax off to a very quick start here, up 4-0, forcing a couple turnovers early on the Magic.
Devontae Elliott with that last bucket for the Hurricanes. The Magic looking for their first ever points here at the Avenir Center, and driving underneath was Nick Evans as he went strong along the baseline and took it right to the basket, so he'll go to the line to shoot a couple. So will it be Nick Evans who will score the first ever points here for the Moncton Magic at the Avenir Center? Someone's got to get the first points. It could be Nick Evans right now.
And Nick's a guy that Moncton Magic fans and NBL Canada fans league-wide will recognize his name. He's 5th all-time in blocks in the league, 11th in games played in the league all-time. He's been around the block, and he's a well-known guy and a well-liked guy by his teammates. Maybe not, and there you go, Scott. The first point at the Avenir Center.
Indeed. So you can file that one away for some trivial pursuit in years to come. Who scored the first points for the Magic in the Avenir Center?
And I was saying, Nick's a guy that his team loves and the other team loves to hate, and that's because he's so physical. He's got that nasty edge to him. It works so well. If you're a teammate of his, you love him.
Nice ball movement by the Hurricanes, getting it outside there as Jordan Washington decided to put it on the floor.
And kind of not a very clean start from either team here. Unlike the other night where both teams really got off to a pretty solid start, especially the Magic. Corey Allman got off to a very quick start, 13 points before you blinked your eyes.
I think they all might be tired from shoveling, Dave.
Yes.
Especially a lot of these players come from warmer climates down in the States. So I don't think they're used to clearing snow at all, let alone in early November.
They're doing their own shoveling, Scott. I'm just saying.
What? Dave? So just early stages here of this first quarter. And 4-1 is the score. Halifax Hurricanes in the lead here. Halifax looking to avenge that opening night loss on Thursday at the Scotiabank Center in Halifax. Here's Corey Allman, the returning veteran. Outside to Evans, steps back for 3, and Evans now has the first 4 points for the Moncton Magic at the Avenir Center as he's good from outside.
And he's a big man, but that's not out of character for him. He can stroke it from out there, and a pick and roll with him and Corey Allman can be a deadly combo, and Corey made a great decision there.
Clinkscales now looking for somewhere to go. Goes up to the top for Washington. Washington goes right back to Clinkscales. Almond on him. And the smooth jump shot there from Jordan Washington as he just stepped inside the arc and just put up a very calm and cool jump shot.
Yeah, Jordan is one of these guys. He struggled in that first game, but the pedigree, you see these guys. And look, it takes a while for us as announcers, too, to get used to these guys because we're just seeing them on YouTube. We don't have any sort of context for their game, how they're going to play with each other. how they're going to play in this league versus their previous league, but the pedigree that he comes in with out of Iona College in the States and being a big-time scorer and rebounder in a high-level Division I program, you got to think he's not going to struggle all year. And he had a tough first night, but started strong here tonight.
Strong inside move from Kindred. And interesting just moments ago on that last Moncton Magic possession, as the ball was moving up the floor, a pretty animated discussion between Mike Poole and Coach Mike Leslie on the sideline. So two familiar guys having a little chat there. Meanwhile, the play was going back up the floor.
Well, listen, there's now only 2 returnees as Corey Almond drains his first bucket of the year, but there's a lot of unfamiliarity with there's only 2 of them now tonight with Tyrone Watson being out that are returnees from last year, and there's going to be a lot of coaching on the floor probably that Mike Poole's going to have to do with these guys because they've got a system that they're used to that they want to run, and there's going to be a lot of sort of kinks to work out early season.
The other thing as well, I did a podcast with Coach Joe Salerno the other day talking about the Halifax Hurricanes, and there's a number of guys in Halifax not only new to the team but new to the NBL period, Dave.
Yeah, and when you look at their squad overall, they're younger too, much younger than a lot of teams in the league. A lot of rookies, a lot of guys fresh out of D1, but a lot of guys a couple years out of D1. But you're right, these newcomers to the league, there's new arenas, there's new the refereeing. And I say that again, but that's a point of emphasis you really got to think about. Games are called differently all over this world. In Canada is different than if you were playing pro in Greece last year. It's a completely different story. It's an adjustment period. It's all new teammates, and like I say, they had no exhibition games. They had no live action against opposing teams until Thursday night.
Nick Evans had 5 rebounds the other night against Halifax. Grabs a board there. McCullough steps back. That goes off the front of the iron, and the ball grabbed by Poole, and he'll push it up the floor. Mike Poole steps to his left, gets it over to Clinkscales. The 2 returning vets getting together there on that last pass. Nice little behind the back feed from Clinkscales. He gets it right back. Look at Cliff stepping to the top of the key. Dishes inside, and right away putting it up and in is Joel Kindred, as he did not waste any time taking that all in one motion. But again, the nice feed from Clinkscales.
And the thing that pops about Joel Kindred is the ways he can score. We talk about guys scoring at 3 levels, at the rim, mid-range, and from 3-point range. He can do all 3, and he's so athletic that he can make shots for himself at anywhere on the floor.
Evans right back to the corner for Corey, and Corey dials up his first long-distance call of the year from the Avenir Center, and he wanted to send that one out to his 2 kids watching back home.
You're going to hear that woo come up from this crowd a lot this year, and in the first exhibition games, our esteemed new in-house announcer, Taya Bailey, said, Dave, am I going to have to do this woo thing all year long? Yes, Taya, you're going to have to do the woo thing all year long.
Exactly.
Fans love it too much, and Corey makes way too many threes. Don't even worry about it.
Last shot from Corey. He is comfortable pretty much anywhere on the floor putting that ball up. We have a discussion now at the timekeeper's bench with the official.
And you also see the comfort that Nick Evans has playing out away from the basket, 25, 30 feet. He can handle the ball a little bit. He's smart with his passes. He can be trouble for opposing defenses inside and out, especially with that ability to knock down the 3. But good decision there. A couple dribbles, kick to the corner, unselfish play, and Corey can reign as always.
So 10-8, first lead of the game for the Moncton Magic after that Corey Almond bucket, and that ball goes out of bounds. 6:23 to go here in the first quarter. Glad to have you with us. Our first game of the season from Moncton, our first game from the brand new, and I may say, Dave, spectacular Avenir Center.
Yeah, we took a walk around. You were impressed.
I was very impressed. World-class facility. That move in the paint, stepping in to grab that is Denzel Taylor, but coming right in was Mike Poole. But he'll get called. But again, Denzel Taylor picked right up in game 1 where he left off last year, just dominating on both ends of the floor underneath the glass.
Yeah, 16 rebounds, coming in the defending offensive rebounding champion in the NBL, coming in last year. The rare season where a big guy grabs more offensive than defensive rebounds, which he did last year, and he's just a menace on that side of the ball.
You see former London Lightning star player Doug Herring Jr. now plying his trade right here in Moncton for the Moncton Magic, and almost an embarrassment of riches for the Moncton Magic with all of the offseason acquisitions that they brought in, Dave. And certainly Doug Herring is one of them. Doug Herring Jr., arguably, probably one of the top 4 or 5 players in the NBL on a lot of people's rankings.
Yeah, and Coach Joe Solaire is going to have one of them good problems pretty soon, Scott, as soon as tomorrow, when Jahi Carson is expected to return from concussion protocol. He passed all the tests today, and he's going to return to the lineup tomorrow, 2 p.m. You can catch us here, broadcast tomorrow against the Cape Breton Highlanders. And, yeah, embarrassment of riches is the exact term, Scott, when you have 3 point guards, okay, at the level of a Doug Herring Jr., a Jahi Carson, and the guy we're about to see, he's just subbed into the floor, Gentray Thomas out of Halifax. Where do you find the minutes for these guys? And then you got at the 2-3 position, you got guys like Wayne McCullough and Corey Allman and Isaiah Tate, who we haven't seen yet. I mean, the embarrassment of riches up and down the lineup in the backcourt is quite a sight to behold.
Well, Dave, we've moved into the future at the new Avenir Center. Not only is the facility fantastic, but they're also encouraging fans in the stands to do Fortnite victory dances. So,
is Fortnite a thing? I don't know.
I actually played Fortnite for the very first time the other night. My daughter, who's an avid Fortnite player, got me to play. My first ever time, beginner's luck, I finished 6th.
So if the camera finds you for a Fortnite dance,
no, I'll probably do what I did my first time playing the game, which was find a patch of wood somewhere
right,
and hide and watch all of the other 99 players just slowly drop off.
Well,
and eventually somebody did find me, so I was 6th overall, but that was pretty much my hiding.
Well,
skills.
There's nowhere to hide in the penalty box where they've positioned. Yes, fans, we are broadcasting to you live from the penalty box at the Avenir Center, which is the spot they've given. Feel free to go on Twitter and find me at Hoops Tingley, and you. What are you on Twitter there, Scotty?
Scott_FFM.
Yeah, please find us there and make jokes about us being in the penalty box.
Well,
best joke wins a prize.
I'd like to say 2 minutes for looking so good.
See, you made that joke already. We got to come up with some new stuff.
Not on the air, I did. Nice move inside, putting that ball up, and getting the roll there was Jordan Washington. And Washington with the Tyrone Watson flex.
Well, Tyrone's not here. You got to live up to his standards, and that's what I'm talking about. Jordan Washington, you saw, he did not show what he can do on Thursday night, and he's starting a little better tonight.
There's a nice combination as Evans, the big man, 6'10", but he can handle it like a small guard, and he gets it inside to Denzel Taylor, who has no problem getting the easy bucket. Here's Doug Herring now on the turnover. Herring leans back, puts it up, but he'll go to the line and shoot a couple.
And there you go, some quick hands. We talked earlier about Nick Evans appearing on top 10 lists all time in the NBL. Doug Herring's name you're going to find on a lot of those lists as well, including on the top 10 steals list, and that's why he's got those super quick hands. If you try to cross that ball over in front of him, that is a dangerous proposition. Mr. Duvinier got his pocket picked.
So Doug Herring wearing his familiar number 9, but it's not in gold and dark blue anymore. It is in the black, silver, and white of the Moncton Magic. And I don't know about you, Dave, but I was pretty excited when I saw the announcement on the Moncton Magic social media that the team had signed Doug Herring.
And when you talk to players and coaches about him, you get leader and you get winner, and that's just proven out when you look at the results of the teams that he's played on, and especially the last couple years in London. I mean, he was arguably the most important player on that team. And how Mr. Duvinier got away from that kind of a walk, that was a nice little, speaking of Fortnite dance steps, that was a little Fortnite dance Mr. Duvinier did in the lane.
Not quite a victory royale, but a dance nonetheless. 13-10, and the shot clock expires, and looking over, talking to the official, pleading his case, whatever that case may be, is Jordan Washington.
And I read up a little bit on Jordan. He went around to a couple schools, the NCAA, ended up at Iona, and all of his coaches say great things about him, but one thing they did say was he is emotional. He's got to keep those emotions in check to keep them on the positive end. And he's a little bit frustrated with Denzel Taylor, and that's not about to change as he plays more and more minutes against Denzel Taylor in these rivalry games.
Pushing the pace up the floor now are the Hurricanes.
And they're going to call Denzel Taylor for a block. And that is, that's a tough call.
So 4:11 to go in quarter number 1. It's a 3-point advantage for the Moncton Magic.
Denzel Taylor stood his ground on that attempted spin move from Washington, took it right on the chest. Somehow got called with a block.
David Ando now scoops it up underneath.
And the makeup call.
Yeah, too many steps. We should also mention, we talked about Tyrone Watson not being in the lineup for the Halifax Hurricanes. Billy White, who had an ankle situation the other night, weren't sure how long it was going to be out. It doesn't appear to be too serious, but they did actually place Billy on the injured reserve list today, and with the new rules this year, that means that he will miss at least 2 games, so not available today or tomorrow.
And that was a scary sight if you watched it. I mean, that looked really serious in the moment, but it turned out to be a bone bruise rather than an ankle situation, which is really, really lucky. And Coach said he was confident he'd be back for the Newfoundland trip, so that's going to be a big one. The home opener on the island.
As Gentray Thomas put that shot up on the feet from Corey, a foul was called away from the ball.
And again, is that on Denzel?
Foul's on Denzel Taylor. That's his second.
That's 2 toughies on Denzel. Didn't see much of a problem with that screen either, but there's definitely some emphasis on moving screens in the league this year, so you're going to have to be pretty careful. Make sure you get your feet set.
That's 3 team fouls on Moncton. Big battle underneath. And getting the putback was Kadar Edwards.
And Kadar Edwards did not play in the first half Thursday night, and then came in the second. It was really, really solid. He's not much of a shooter, but he has a lot of energy and athleticism.
Look at Herring backing his man down. Doug Herring just thump, 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 and then he got some space and made the little turnaround jump shot.
Yeah, welcome to the league, Malcolm Davinier. You're going to learn. Doug Herring takes you down in there, puts you in the spin cycle.
Here's Clink Scales now. Cliff puts it on the floor with his left hand, lobs it all the way across court. Gentray Thomas with the defense. They'll dish it off to the corner. Stepping away there was Ando. Clink Scales from well downtown. That was from Peggy's Cove when he let that one go. Corey right back the other way. Fakes the shot. Gets it to Herring. Herring puts it on the floor. Kicks it out to Gentray Thomas. Gentray with the nice little scoop underneath. Herring will step away now and reset. 11 on the shot clock from the sideline. Just goes off the back of the iron. But that was some great ball movement, some great passing. They just didn't get the finish on the back end.
They also passed up a couple of decent shots, though, there, too. There's a balance you got to strike there between being unselfish and taking your shot.
Keep an eye on 44 in white as we see the shot put up and good out of the hands of David Ando. But Zeke Marshall, or as he's known on social media, Ziggy Marsh. He's long, he's athletic, and he knows how to shot blocks. In his high school and university days, holds numerous shot blocking records. Gentray Thomas with the little right-handed runner, no good. And here comes Halifax in transition now with some pace. Clink Scales looking for somewhere to go, hands it off to Ando. Gets it over now, making the little spin move. There was Kadar Edwards, and the headband wearing Kadar Edwards is heating up.
That's a mistake there from Corey. Corey wants him to take that first one. He's not a distance shooter. He's going to take that from distance. You let him.
Gentray Thomas, a true rookie in this league and a Canadian at that. Thomas looking for somewhere to go. Bounce pass inside to Marshall, and Marshall manhandles the rim. Trying to defend was Devontae Elliott, and I don't know if that's a job that Devontae Elliott is going to want to have too much of a part of.
And this is the problem with Devontae Elliott and Washington had the opening night, and he's already got 3, and he's gone to the bench again. And the problem of defending Billy White and Zeke Marshall and Denzel Taylor and Nick Evans took their toll on these guys, and then taking the toll again. And early minutes for Mr. Asamoah, the rookie out of Calgary.
Nice feed inside as Tate took the dish from Herring. Couldn't get the little putback from underneath, and it's rebounded by the Hurricanes, and they'll push the ball right back up the floor.
Really nice play out of the sideline, but...
And from outside again, it's David Ando, and the lead now has been increased to 4 points, 19-15, 60 seconds to go, quarter one.
And that is Ando's game. He's not going to be he's not going to back you down the post from his forward spot. He's going to make shots from the perimeter. You got to have your hands up and run at him. Make him make a play.
Evans gets trapped down in that corner, does a nice job to get it to Harry. Look at that on a laser beam pass inside to Asamoah. He just couldn't get the finish underneath, and that's a couple of times now. On the last couple of trips, we've seen Moncton with what you would think would be pretty easy looks underneath and not able to get it down.
Yeah, they're really hesitant and short-arming some stuff in there, some stuff that they're usually going to make, but they just got to be more, I think they got to be more aggressive here and take it to them. That's what they did on Thursday night, and they're being a little bit passive and hesitant there tonight for some reason, but see what they can do to fix things in that area. But a bad pass there from Doug Herring. That was never going to get there, and well defended there by, looks like that was Jamel Taylor, who didn't have a lot of minutes, only 7 minutes in his first game, was basically kept off the score sheet, had 1 turnover. It was the only thing on his resume from the game 1, so he'll look to clean things up here as well with some additional minutes.
Meshach Lewfield gets it outside again. That time Ando couldn't find the range, and as the quarter comes to an end, it's a pretty good one on the road for the Halifax Hurricanes. As they came in, they got off to a pretty good start. Moncton made their typical run, but Halifax, like most Mike Leslie coached Hurricanes teams do, they stayed calm, they stayed the course, and they end the first quarter with a 4-point lead. Some takeaways from the first 10, Dave.
Well, again, a little bit of hesitancy and some nerves maybe on the Moncton Magic side, trying to maybe do a little too much here in their first outing here in the Avenir Center. But my takeaway is the Hurricanes. I mean, the first quarter went exactly how I kind of thought it would before the game. The Hurricanes aren't going to have a second, struggling outing the way they did on Thursday in this game. I don't think it's going to be a much cleaner game. They're going to have the kinks kind of worked out a little bit. Like I say, they didn't have any exhibition at all, and that was kind of their first exhibition game. So they definitely cleaned some stuff up.
We just had the stat sheet handed to us as we take a quick look at that 19-15 total. Anything quickly jump off that page at you?
Well, 5 for 13 from the field, and that's on some, you talked about it, some missed bunnies inside there on well-executed plays but not finishing, and also over-executing a little bit. I talked about there's that line you got to draw between taking your shot and being unselfish, and giving up a good to get a great is never a bad idea, but an open 3 in the corner there a couple times that Gentry Thomas passed up. Corey passed up a couple of open shots. Really good to give up the good to get the great, but if you got a great one already, take it.
Should give a shout out to the fine fans of the Moncton Magic. They've come out en masse here this evening for their first ever game for the Moncton Magic at the Avenir Center. A great crowd on hand here on a Saturday evening in Moncton. All kinds of snow yesterday, but everyone's got their cars cleaned off, got their driveways and walkways shoveled, and they've made it out to the Avenir Center here tonight. And they may be seeing two teams that have a lot of new names and a lot of fresh faces, but the Halifax-Moncton rivalry, it remains.
Yeah, that's going to be a constant. I mean, these guys are it's going to take them no time to get the feel for how this rivalry works, the intensity of it. Coming in here, I'm sure that the veterans on both sides advise their teammates of how the playoffs went last year. They met in the Atlantic Division Finals and of course won by Halifax, and that's something that Corey Allman and these veterans are super focused on, and these Halifax Moncton games have a little bit of extra edge to them because of that sort of thing.
Quick pass inside, spinning around with it there is Lewfield. Lewfield takes it to the paint, steps back against the big man Evans and puts the little baby hook shot up. So nice little sequence there from 24 in blue, Meshach Lewfield.
Yeah, not known for making his own shot. Nick is a tough defender, but give him 8, 10, 12 dribbles. A guy that's talented like Lewfield's gonna make his shot eventually.
And anybody that's wondering, I did confirm with the coaching staff prior to the game that it is Lewfield, and feeling it right there is Tate from the outside.
And he was super impressive in the preseason in the black and white, the Moncton game, inter-squad game. He had 36 points, I believe it was, 38 maybe, in the inter-squad game. Really popped off the floor in that game, and had a strong preseason and made this team.
From the outside, Ando, he's been good in this one, has number 7, David Ando, been impressive so far for the Hurricanes.
Yeah, he's not a guy that's going to put the ball on the floor, so it's got to be some recognition as Tate inside for 2. Got to be some recognition on the Magic defense part to clean that up. Ando's going to be a guy that they're going to want to focus on here on the perimeter.
There's a little step back jump shot as Tate was out defensively. The shot's no good. And back the other way now come the Moncton Magic. Nice little run to the basket there as Gentry Thomas makes his way in, and he might be rookie in terms of years of service, but I know it's only early on, a game plus a quarter, but Gentry Thomas playing like anything but a rookie, Dave.
He was spectacular on Thursday night. I mean, he made some tough threes off the dribble. made some nice passes. He's got that move going right where he holds the ball out ahead of him. He's got that off the wrong foot kind of layup that's super athletic and hard to do, but he's got it mastered. It's one of his go-to move going right. And talk about Mr. Anso, Mr. Anso and his exploits here tonight. He got posterized in the final minute by Gentray Thomas the other night, and it was a emphatic finish to a great start to the season for the Magic in Game 1.
Yeah, listen, no bias intended at all, but that is a highlight that should have been on every sports show nationally across the country. A professional basketball player with that kind of a spectacular dunk, and he's a Canadian to boot. So, hey, Sportsnet, TSN, and anyone else that's listening, go find that highlight of Gentray Thomas and get that highlight up somewhere. Here's Tate now, taking it to the baseline. Tate underneath. Goes under and brings it up the other way, and he'll go to the line to shoot a couple. So Tate looking pretty good here early on as well.
And every year I choose somebody on the Magic and the Miracles originally when I was broadcasting for them, that somebody has that extra oomph when they're going to the basket, and I find that they really hate rims, Scott, and and that's my kind of go-to call, and that would have been my call for Gentray the other night. But he's going to have some rivals because Wayne McCullough the other night tried to dunk everything he looked at and attracted a lot of fouls, got to the line very effectively for the Magic. And, of course, down low, Ziggy Marsh is going to be rival for that moniker this year. But, yeah, Gentray, that was spectacular to end the game on Thursday night.
So from the line, the Magic have tied it now at 23. Not very often that these teams play a game that's not close. And Lufiel underneath, and Meshach Lufiel making his presence felt in the paint.
I talked a little bit about earlier about Mike Poole and Coach Leslie over there talking, and the system and the sort of tradition that Halifax plays with. And last couple of years, you can go, when you look at Halifax, you looked at their inside game. And they've got some great guards, don't get me wrong, Clint Scales and Poole. But you look at that inside game, and it was really almost unmatched in the league with Billy White and C.J. Washington and Ramel Brown and guys like that, and things, the features of those guys where they were super effective on the screen and roll, and they could make a shot. And that's why David Anso making these shots early for them is a really big deal for them. And it's something that Clink Scales and Poole are really going to get on the same page with these big guys, but it's going to take some reps, some game reps, as far as that pick and roll working effectively and that sort of thing. And it's not going to come overnight for them, but I think it's something when you watch the other night and, oh gosh, we lost by 25 points. Well, look, there's a lot of factors that went into that, and one of those things is Cliff Kingscales runs a very intricate screen and roll, and you got to be on the same page as him, and if you're not, then you're going to get some passes on the side of the head, and they did the other night. I think that stuff's going to clean up as the year goes on.
So the Hurricanes now in possession. They've got a 1-point lead, and Ando, I think that might have been partially blocked, and now Gentray Thomas brings the ball up the floor, but again, I think we've got a foul away from the play.
And that's just hard work by Eddie Asamoah. He blocked the shot and then decided to get on his horse and beat Ando down the floor, and he had to tug his jersey to keep him from getting a breakaway dunk.
So that foul called on Ando. That's the third team foul for Halifax in this quarter. 9:14 to go. 1-point lead for the Hurricanes on the road. Here's Corey Allman into the paint, steps up and puts the calm jumper in. So Corey puts Moncton back into the lead. Halifax on offense, right back the other way. Putting up the shot quickly was Jamel Taylor. That was no good, and now Moncton will calmly bring the ball up the floor, and this is Tate. Tate gets it off to Evans. He's a big man, but he has no problem handling that ball. Corey Allman again zips it over to the corner. Gentray Thomas fakes the shot, takes it baseline, puts it up and off the glass. Gentray Thomas again looking good right there, and we're going to have a timeout. Mike Leslie not liking what he sees there on that sequence, and he brings his team over to the sideline.
Well, back-to-back plays, Scott. They went to the bread and butter that they started the game with in Halifax on Thursday night, and that's that nice little pin-down screen roll, that quick screen and roll from Corey Allman, where he goes hard off of that screen to the hoop. If they jump out and stop that hard cut on the roll, and then he fades back out and tries to get an open three. But they worked that play so well the other night. Got Corey 13 very quick points and 2 pretty easy hoops here coming out of that on these last 2 trips down the floor of that same play.
Well, and to talk about that opening game the other night in Halifax, Halifax, as we mentioned off the top, about midway through the second quarter, pulled away, and a fairly comfortable win at the end of the day.
9-point lead.
But Halifax actually put up 7 more shots in that game. They put 90 shots up, so it's not like Halifax wasn't getting looks, Dave.
Yeah, no, they absolutely were. And the story there was a little bit of offensive rebounding, which they've been a little bit effective at tonight. But they weren't able to finish, and the big guys down low were really doing the job cleaning the boards for the Magic, and that was with the emphasis on Mr. Denzel Taylor, who finished with 16 points, but 16 boards, pardon me. But yeah, I mean they definitely got their shots up, and they want to play at a little bit of a faster pace with the younger lineup and the not as big lineup this year. They probably want to alter that a little bit. So yeah, they're gonna. I mean, look, you get up 90 shots in today's game. That's pretty run of the mill.
And the thing is, right now, with 8:42 to go in the second quarter, Halifax shooting 44%, Moncton 52.9. But again, Halifax 11 of 25, Moncton 9 of 17. So again, Halifax has put up 8 more shots. And again, not that you can hang your hat on that, but again, Halifax, it's not like they're not getting opportunities here. They are.
Yep. And it's not a lot of high turnovers either, but with the Magic, because they didn't have a high turnover rate the other night or tonight so far, and that's more of a reaction foul there, Nick Evans. They sold the referees on that. Just bouncing off of Nick Evans. That's Nick's game, though. He's going to bump you on a cut. He's going to hit you on a screen. He's going to hit you on a box out. And he's going to get some foul calls on that. You take that with Nick, because that's how he's effective, playing physical.
Lou Field, nice little bounce pass inside. Edwards puts it up. And Edwards, I think the entire team has adopted the Tyrone Watson flex, and they're doing it in his honor tonight with Tyrone out of the lineup.
Well, what works for Tyrone works for them.
27-26, 1-point lead for the Magic here at home. Here's Evans backing down Lou Field. Evans, another little shoulder. Evans steps back. Soft jump shot, nowhere near the mark. But again, Evans' game has impressed me, and something else that's impressed me is the demonstrative looks upon the man's face. A moment ago when he got called for that foul, the reaction of what me, I almost want to put that on a T-shirt and give it to my daughter, because that's the same kind of look when I ask her.
Same look you get?
Yeah, hey, honey, did you do that? And I get that same look, like, what? No, me?
Is she as physical on a cut in a box out, though, as he is?
Well, no, not near as physical,
Okay.
and she's also about 4 feet shorter.
Oh, okay.
Jen Trey, well, maybe not that much shorter, but she is only 12. Isaiah Tate now, being guarded by Lou Field. Tate decides to put the shot up, and the lefty couldn't find the range, and jumping in to get the rebound was Kadar Edwards, and he'll just calmly bring it up the floor.
And again, another missed opportunity they had. Gentry had his nose ahead on the break there and just didn't get a effective shot up, and they ended up with a contested 3 instead. Just not clean for the Magic right now.
DeVivier hands that ball off to Ando, right back to DeVivier. DeVivier being guarded by Corey Allman. Now it's Nick Evans on DeVivier, and he wildly up into the air at the shot clock buzzer, and he hits the triple.
Yeah, but you look at him. I mean, you look at those pipes on DeVivier. He is a strong guy, and he's got that ability to get up, rise up, and knock that down. That strong frame of his, and that was a tough shot at the buzzer.
Corey Allman from almost half court. That didn't go in. Corey is in some pain on the floor, and the Avenir center collectively holding their breath right now as Corey Allman is clutching at the lower part of that right leg. And if there's one thing I know about Corey Allman, he's not going to go down and stay down for nothing.
No, that looks bad. That looks like Billy White did the other night.
So Coach Joe Salerno out right now, as is the staff from Rehab 1. They do a fantastic job as the training staff for this Moncton Magic team. So again, we are not going to speculate or assume, but just seeing the way that Corey went down and how quickly he clutched at that right leg or right ankle area, which they're checking on right now, and Coach Joe Salerno still out talking to Corey. So Corey,
good signs,
gets up, and the crowd gives him a nice round of applause, but you literally could feel for a moment the air completely gets sucked out of this building.
There is no more popular player in this building than Corey Allman. Those threes, the phone calls, the work that he does in the community, the personable nature that he has with the fans and with you and I. I mean, you'd think he actually likes us the way he talks to us all the time before the game's got. No, he's just a great guy. And, people were holding their breaths. But look, Magic had a great reaction to when Billy White went out with a scary-looking injury at the start of the second half. Let's see if they have a similar reaction here.
Herring high off glass, follow there, and it's no good. Here comes Halifax now with some pace in transition. Trying to charge it toward the baseline and then dump it back to the middle was Kadar Edwards.
And again, just 2 more missed opportunities. Doug Herring makes that righty layup, 85% of the time? And Eddie Asamoah, pretty easy follow-up, just hit the bottom of the rim. Just these opportunities keep passing the Magic by. And, professional basketball. I know they had a 25-point win the other night, but you can't assume that these Hurricanes are going to be put away easily. So these missed opportunities are starting to add up.
So the first foul a second ago on Isaiah Tate, but then Halifax gets called for a foul as Lufiel gets tagged with his first. And he had that same look that Nick Evans had minutes ago, which was what, me?
Hold on, you mean the referees don't reverse the calls based on your feeling on the call? I had no idea.
And as you like to say,
yes, the unblemished record of referees never changing their mind on a call continues.
Mike Poole to Ando. He's been good from outside, and he's good one more time.
That is a pretty-looking jumper, too. You see why it goes in. It is a firm release, squared up every time.
4-point advantage here for the Hurricanes, playing themselves a whale of a road game so far. 5:55 to go, quarter number 2. Gentray Thomas to Isaiah Tate. So many new names and faces on this Magic squad. Tate behind the back as a mower from outside rolls it around the rim. The crowd groans, and Poole grabs the rebound.
That's another in and out. And Gentray Thomas is going to have to be, he's had a quiet first half so far. He's going to have to be one of these guys that gets it going, and here's an opportunity for him.
Gentray up and in, soft little lay-in, just like that. Quick as you like. Gentray Thomas takes advantage of that loose ball and takes it straight to the hoop.
And they haven't turned their defense to offense much so far, have the Magic either. And that was something that was generated there. Gentray just in the passing lane, something as simple as that can lead to an easy opportunity the other way.
That shot from DeVivier, no good. Evans was there for the rebound, but it goes right into the hands of Kadar Edwards, and Edwards takes it in strong, but they're going to say that it went off of Moncton. So it'll be Halifax ball. Denzel Taylor will check back into the game along with Wayne McCullough. Isaiah Tate will take a seat on the Moncton bench. So 5:06 to go, quarter number 2. 33-27 is your score. Halifax in the lead. Asamoah, he'll head to the bench as well. And Mike Poole will inbound for the Hurricanes. Lufiel backing down Evans. Good matchup underneath between Lufiel and Evans, but it's Ando from the outside. That's no good. And Evans sucks up that rebound and puts it into the hands of Doug Herring. Herring gets some pace, takes it into the paint, goes up against 2 defenders off glass. He'll get the and one, and that is something special right there from Doug Herring.
You heard me telling you, he missed an easier one just a couple minutes ago, comes back, takes the contact, finishes through it, and that's the Doug Herring that NBLC fans recognize. That's what he's been doing. That's how he's making a living. That soft kiss off the glass. He's so good at it.
Chance now for Herring to put Moncton back into the lead again as the teams have seesawed back and forth. Several lead changes through this one, and Herring good on the and one. So 32-31, Halifax now win the lead. Here's DeVivier again. He's being watched by Gentray Thomas. Little screen run there. DeVivier has the ball right back in his hands. Lufiel runs right into the chest of Thomas and then gets the ball back, and he takes it strong to the hoop.
And that was just that's just your basic screen roll there. Something that Cliff Clinkscales has done a million times, and he was up off the bench clapping for his man DeVivier. And Meshack Lufiel, just a very basic roll to the basket for 2, and kind of matador defense there on that end by the Magic this time.
So the foul charged to Doug Herring, his first personal 4th team foul, and Lufiel can't get the feel on that one as it rolls off the rim, and now Doug Herring will methodically bring it up the floor for the Moncton Magic. Herring uses Evans as the screen and wide open. Couldn't get the range on the shot. Lufiel with the defensive rebound and now puts it off into the hands of DeVivier. DeVivier jogs it up the floor. Thomas on him. Scoops it over to Ando. Thought about the shot. Back to DeVivier. Zips it inside to Lufiel, who steps back against Evans and again puts up the soft jump shot. But it was off the range and it'll get turned over to the Moncton Magic.
And I've been impressed by Lufiel, and Coach Joe Salerno's having the same thought I am. Hopped up talking to Nick Evans. Lufiel is just carving out space inside that semicircle underneath the hoop, 2 feet from the rim. And Evans has got to do a much better job of pushing him out, making him work for that spot a lot harder.
A 1-point game. It's been close. Both teams have jumped back and forth in terms of trailing and then taking the lead. Gentry Thomas sees the opening, steps back. A little bit too strong. Big battle underneath, and Evans grabs it, feeds Thomas again. Little strong, but look who's there for the offensive rebound, Dave. Number 5 in white, Denzel Taylor.
Lather, rinse, repeat. Death, taxes, and Denzel Taylor getting offensive rebounds.
Good ball movement there, wide open. Corner 3, rattles in and out, but Lewfield with the rebound. Gets it right back. Lewfield leans in and gets it, and Meshach Lewfield having himself a whale of a first half here.
He's eating Nick Evans' lunch right now, and Evans has got that look on his face again like, come on. He's just getting the best of him on both ends of the floor.
Here's McCullough. Goes into the chin of Ando.
And that's what McCullough does really effectively. He's so long and lanky. His steps are he's so athletic, and he's got that length to him and that quickness, and really he's a very solid ball handler. He's just got that way of getting his body into yours and getting to the line. Very effective with that the other night.
Zeke Marshall getting ready to check back into the game as McCullough hits. So we are tied again. 35 all, 3:09 to go in the half. Scott Squires, Dave Tingley with you. The return of regular season basketball to Moncton. The 2018-2019 season in the National Basketball League of Canada is underway. Also want to welcome in the brand new franchise starting play this evening, the Sudbury 5. So welcome to the league, Sudbury. Looking forward to your first trip here to Moncton. So Halifax now trailing by 1 after the successful trip to the line by McCullough. Here's DeVivier now. Little hopple on the baseline. He'll go to the line to shoot a couple.
He's going to be a solid player in this league. That guy's got the build for it. We talked about that. The build likens him to his teammate. Good God, we've been forgetting his name, the muscle man's name here all night tonight, and I don't know what my problem is.
It's because he's not in the lineup. It's freaking us out.
He's only been in the league.
Tyrone Watson.
Tyrone Watson's only been in the league for 3 years now and been a magic killer. You'd think I'd be able to remember the poor man's name, but no, he's got that build, Davidier, of effect. Kind of just like his teammate, and he's got a sweet shot from the perimeter. Okay, and he looks like he's a smart player too, and just missed some shots the other night and missed some shots tonight so far too. But you just know he's just got that look. He's just got that basketball player look, and you can tell he's a bulldog too. So I really like him. He's going to be a guy that Hurricanes fans are really going to get behind. And a good sign here for the Magic is Corey Ullman being back on the floor.
A very good sign indeed. I complimented him on his pretty bright, shiny looking new kicks. First game he wore them was the other night against Halifax in that 29-point effort. And I said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You're going to keep wearing them until you don't go so well. He said, well, he said, I like these. He goes, once upon a time, I used to be like that, and I was a little more superstitious. He goes, but nah, he goes, if I don't have a good game tonight or the next night, he goes, I like these. I'll keep wearing them.
Okay, so he's not going to switch them out.
That's what he says, but you never know. Here's Marshall now, the big man, the 7-footer. Marshall gets it off to Corey Allman, steps back, wide open from downtown, too strong. Nice rebound by McCullough, and he puts it right into the hands of Doug Herring. Herring now like a traffic cop directing traffic on the floor. Herring steps back, goes between the legs, goes into the paint, slashes through the lane. Shot's no good, tap back, no good. Look at Marshall getting in to grab the rebound with Lewfield over top of him, and Lewfield is going to pick up another foul.
And Zeke Marshall's going to head to the line, and this has been a bit of an adventure for Mr. Marshall throughout his career, and it was the other night in Halifax. Not a great free throw shooter, and it's really important, a guy like him, to be effective there at least a little bit. He's going to get himself to the line with his athleticism down there in the post.
Strong, powerful man on the court, but very gentle and soft-spoken off of it. A very interesting character is Zeke Marshall. I had a chance to do a podcast with him a few weeks back. He loves the game. He likes to spend time alone and just kind of do a lot of gaming. And one of the things he's most fond of is the card game Magic the Gathering. And I guess there's a PC gaming version of it that he very much enjoys.
And, I talked to a couple of the coaches about their two-a-day practices that they started at the start of training camp. And in between, Zeke would. They asked Zeke, well, "Where'd you go in between practice?" Zeke, "Oh, I went to the library, the Moncton library, made some great new Magic the Gathering friends." He was very, very excited. Not your typical professional basketball player.
But what he is a typical shot blocker and rebounder, and he just grabbed a rebound there. And it's one thing to have size and it's one thing to have length, but to be able to be athletic and use it is a whole other story. And Zeke Marshall has that ability. It's just so effortless watching him do what he does on the basketball floor.
And he's another one of these just likable guys. You could tell all the players genuinely like him. It's impossible not to get along with Zeke. He's so mild-mannered and stuff. But on the floor, that edge comes out. And he's kind of got that gangly kind of feel to him where he's not in total control of his, like, those are long limbs to keep control of all the time. And he's got that gangly, and he's going to catch some guys with an elbow. Sometimes accidentally on purpose, sometimes accidentally. But he's got that edge to him that makes him effective on the defensive end of the floor. He's a two-time Defensive Player of the Year in college in his conference, so he's got that ability. And he's just got that edge to him a little bit where it's oops, did I get you with that elbow? And you don't know whether it's on purpose or not. I love that about him. He's got that edge, that surprising edge.
And speaking of edge, here's Herring now edging his way in to get that ball. Tried to lob it up for Marshall, who was looking for the alley and the oop. And then the foul is called. And Kadar Edwards now the one with his arms up in the air and now out forward going, what? Come on.
Yeah, and he's got reason. That's just a brilliant play by Edwards. He got up, he went up with a 7-footer and swatted it out of his hands before he could throw it down. That was just a solid play, and he got short end of the stick there on that foul call.
So Marshall from the line misses the first. 1:29 left to play in the half. 39-35 Halifax in the 4-point lead, and Mike Leslie right now in the ear of the official as Zeke Marshall shoots those shots. And if there's one thing that Mike Leslie, not that all coaches don't, but Mike Leslie knows extra well how to work the ears of the officials when he has the chance.
And how can you get mad at a guy in that suit?
He is looking mighty sharp.
Dapper is the word for our man, Mr. Leslie, tonight.
I'm looking for Dean Martin and the rest of the Rat Pack.
Get him a cocktail, seriously.
Here are the Hurricanes now on offense. Poole sees the chance to put the jump shot up. All kinds of arms going for that ball underneath, but it's the Magic who come away. McCullough, Corey in the corner, gives it off to Herring with the little step back kiss off the glass. Rebounded underneath and grabbed right there by Kadar Edwards.
And a little bit overly physical there by Marshall. It's not a foul you necessarily want to take at this point in the half. It's going to send him to the line for a couple of freebies, but you see the length of Kadar Edwards and how he's being effective, and he didn't play at all in the first half the other night. Had some effective minutes in the second half. Obviously, it's earned him some time tonight, and he's doing a great job.
Kadar Edwards now at the line, looking to get Halifax a little closer. They currently trail by 5, make it trail by 4. I want to give a couple of shout-outs to some of our fine folks watching the broadcast and interacting with us via Twitter. Kat says, welcome back, Scott and Dave. Such a great part of the Moncton Magic home games. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate that. And Paul Morris, watching the broadcast, says, doing a great job with the call, gentlemen. So we appreciate those fine comments, and we appreciate that from Doug Herring, as do the fans here at the Avenir Center, as a couple of more for Herring, and the lead now up to 6, largest lead of the game for either team. And right now it's being enjoyed by the Moncton Magic, 42-36, bounce pass inside. And now Joe Salerno going to call time.
And Denzel Taylor had a look at the referee like, are you kidding me? He thought he was getting called for a foul, but no. Just 3 in the key on the Hurricanes and a couple of wasted possessions here recently. But you see that last effort there by Doug Herring in the open floor. That's something that the Magic should try to get back to a little bit, push the pace up the floor, even against a dead ball, even in dead ball situations. Push this pace. They've got a more athletic, effective backcourt than does Halifax. And they should take advantage of that. And Doug Herring's always been effective in the open floor, and he was just unstoppable on that attack. That's something they should go to more. And Scott, what I'm struck by here is we haven't seen Joel Kindred off the bench in a while there for Halifax, and haven't talked about it. We'll have to find out maybe at the half if there's some issue with Joel not being in the game here.
Now I know this is just home game number 1 of 20, and this is just game number 2 of 40 for the Moncton Magic. But you look at this lineup that they put together, and again, you always hear, right, on paper, but look, they've got a very talented squad. They've got the returning players in Corey Allman and Denzel Taylor. But with the pieces now that they've put around those two guys, when it gets down to crunch time and it's pick your poison time, who's going to be that guy that Moncton's going to look to? Is it going to be a situational thing, or is there a guy, and again, maybe a crazy comparison, but, certain teams, they had a Michael Jordan, or they had a Magic Johnson, or they have a LeBron James, or they have a whatever. Who's that, like Kyrie Irving last night? Who's that go-to guy?
It's an absolutely worthwhile point, because they're going to have multiple closers, guys with pride, guys that have been the closers before on other teams that are now here. And I think the expected guy before the season, I think it would have been Jahi Carson. But how can you argue with putting the ball in Doug Herring's hands? How can you argue with putting the ball in a guy like Corey Allman's hands? So,
well, how about a Billy White in the post?
Billy White in the post. I mean, they're going to have multiple options to go. And yes, I think it's going to be situational. But I think as the season goes on, there's going to be that's going to work itself out a little bit. These guys are vets. These guys want to win. These guys are going to know, look, this is the guy that's going to take the bull by the horns and be our closer. That's going to work itself out.
15 seconds to go in the half. Shot clock is off. Halifax, I'm sure, now will play for the final shot here. It's Poole over to Clinkscales. They work it down to Lufield. That's a good matchup underneath Lufield and Marshall. And going down to the deck there was Clinkscales, so 4.1 on the clock. And Halifax will go to the line to shoot a couple.
And Cliff Clinkscales is going to make his first trip to the line tonight, and that foul was, I thought it was on Zeke Marshall. No, it's on Wayne McCullough. And, I think if you're Halifax, being down 6 in this spot, Joel Kindred not giving you almost no minutes, having to play heavy with, Meshach Lufield up front, with Kadar Edwards giving you huge minutes. This is an encouraging sign for Coach Leslie, I think, with going to be within maybe 4 points here going to the half in the home opener of the Magic.
Clinkscales, no good on the second, but Lufield misses the easy put-up as he got the rebound, as he boxed out well. So a chance for Halifax to put a couple more on the board, but it does not come to fruition. So the half comes to an end. It's a 5-point advantage for the Moncton Magic. But I would say if you're Coach Mike Leslie and the Halifax Hurricanes, you're probably not feeling too bad about that first 20.
Yeah, look, the game the other night, it was a totally different ball game. It was 59-55 at the half. It was wide open. Teams were making shots. It was a much prettier brand of basketball than it's been so far tonight. But if you're a Halifax Hurricanes, maybe you got to muddy it up a little bit. Down a couple guys, down to Tyrone Watson, in the building of a team that's come in as one of the preseason favorites, and you're kind of building kind of from scratch again a little bit. Not a lot of preseason action. So, yeah, definitely encouraging signs on both sides. I think at the Magic, what you're looking at is things just were not clean. We didn't get the looks for Corey Allman that he normally gets. We didn't get the looks for Doug Herring that he wants. They didn't get the looks for guys that they want, and everything was a little bit off the bounce, forced, late in shot clock. Clean things up. Let's get these guys some quick hits. Let's get these guys run some stuff that's going to get them the ball where they want in rhythm in the second half.
And before we step off here for our halftime break, I'll get you to put your coach's hat on for a sec real quick here.
Oh, wait, let me change my hat.
Okay, and go. Good. So if you're Coach Mike Leslie, one or two adjustments that you'd like to see him make for his Hurricanes.
Well, I don't know if it's an adjustment so much as you just got to keep banging away at what you think is the best for your team early in the year. You're not going to have necessarily answers, to one game and a half into a 40-game season with this many new guys. I think you just stick to what your principles are. Make sure guys are focused on playing hard and just doing their jobs, and worry about adjustments maybe later on. But I think they've done their job in this half by playing a really solid Moncton team to 5 points in their home opener, and hold them to 42 points. And look, we've done a great job defensively. Maybe on the offensive end of the floor, we'll have to find some answers. Maybe what Joel Kindred's up to, see if there's a problem with him. But you talk about a go-to guy. Maybe find a go-to guy. Maybe find a guy that's feeling it tonight. And for a while there, it was up front. It was Mr. What are we going to? Mr. Ando. Maybe find a guy that's a hot hand and just go to him and make the Magic stop something.
And if you're Coach Joe Salerno, what's his message to his guys?
I think I talked about it. I think the defensively, obviously, giving up 42 points and a half in a professional basketball game, you did a pretty solid job. I don't think their defensive end needs really any work. On the offensive end of the floor, we talked about it. Get guys shots in their rhythm, in their spots. We saw it was just messy. You know, we talked about it kind of halfway through that first half where Corey kind of came off those screens, those pin downs a couple times, and that roll to the hoop that was so effective in the first half and the third quarter of last night's game, and they kind of went away from it. So go to the well that's getting you the shots that you want. McCullough didn't get the stuff that he wanted. He didn't get a chance to attack the way he did the other night. Gentry Thomas kind of had some shots that were forced up at the end of the shot clock. Get into your stuff fast. Play at a pace. They didn't seem to play at that breakneck pace that they should be playing at.
So Dave and I will be off headset for a couple minutes. We'll let you enjoy some of the halftime entertainment here at the Avenir Center. At the half, it is the Moncton Magic leading the Halifax Hurricanes 42-37. Second half action just a little over 11 minutes away.
What up, Magic fans? How's everybody doing tonight? Accompanying me out here, we've got two basketball superstars. I know this for a fact. And we're going to have a little competition. First off, what's your name, pal? And you, bud? What's your name? Desmond. Right on. All right, Desmond, I'm going to get you to stand right here on this foul line, okay? And I'm going to bring you all the way down here to this foul line. Maybe if we could get a couple ball boys to help us out too, that'd be awesome. What we're gonna do, boys, is we're gonna have 1 minute on the clock, and you each have 1 minute to drain as many foul shots as you can. How's that sound, okay? All right, I'm gonna count to 3. You can come right up to the line if you want, pal. Same with you, big guy. All right, I'm going to count to 3, and we're going to get this thing going. Ready? 1, 2, 3. As many as you can. How many did you get? How many did you sing? Do you know? You didn't count, you can shoot for fun. How about you? Do you know how many you sang? Maybe 10? Well, that's good. You both did so well that we're both going to give you a prize. You both get an awesome t-shirt. We're going to go over here. Yeah, and a picture with Duncan, of course. Right on. Let's go get you some t-shirts. Give it up, guys. My brother texted me and said that you guys are the best in the league, hands down, without question. I want to point out he's been lying on me since we were kids. So I'm not gonna assume that would. He's a notorious liar. I'm not gonna assume that wouldn't translate to lying.
There's many jokes about this because every level is. Yes, yeah, I know. Yeah. What did you say, Colin? Colin, yeah. We are just about set for the second half from the brand new Avenir Center in Moncton, New Brunswick. I'm Scott Squires along with my broadcast partner, Dave Tingley. After one half of basketball, the Moncton Magic leading the Halifax Hurricanes 42-37. Dave, we talked about some things at the end of the half in terms of both teams and what they might want to do differently in the second half or continue to do. But when you look at some of the numbers, anything jump off the page at you statistically?
To be honest with you, no. I'll be honest with you. The stats are pretty innocuous. The shooting percentages aren't great, and frankly, there's not a high number of turnovers. Well, frankly, Halifax having 11. Pardon me, I misread that the first time. Halifax having 11 turnovers is a story, but besides that, it was just a kind of a hesitancy level on offense and a lot of missed shots and just not clean offensively for either team. But a lot of that has to do with the defense. We talked about how we think the Magic are going to have a strong team defensively. No doubt that Mike Leslie coach team in Halifax is going to have a strong team defensively as well. So we'll see if there's any adjustments that we talked about either team making. I think Magic are going to probably pick up the pace a little bit to start this half.
You talk about sometimes statistical anomalies, and I mentioned earlier in the first half about that Thursday night game that Halifax put up 7 more shots overall, 90 to Moncton's 83 in terms of attempts from the floor. The other night, Moncton got to the line way more than Halifax. Through a half, Moncton has gotten to the line 19 times to Halifax's only 9. Is that something for Coach Mike Leslie to think about?
Yeah, well, of course, absolutely. But I don't think but having 19 free throws in a half where they weren't very effectively aggressive is worrisome. If I'm Coach Leslie, and that if I'm Coach Leslie and he's laughing about it on the sidelines, a bit of a laughable call here to start the second half. Mr. Washington getting charged with a push in the back,
and that's
for reasons passing understanding.
That's the second on Washington. So first team foul, of course, here, just underway in the second half. Corey Almond leans into the paint And they're going to say no. They wave it off quickly. And Corey Allman now with the expression of, say what?
And he giveth and he taketh away. A bad call at one end begats a bad call on the other. That's a couple of questionable ones to start the half here.
So we'll see what Halifax comes here with to start this second half. Clinkscales gets it inside and flying to the rim with the greatest of ease was Joel Kindred, a player that you mentioned didn't see a whole lot of action down the stretch in that first half, but he gets a nice look there on the feed from Clinkscales and goes flying in toward the hoop. And I talked to you about this when we were watching shoot around during warm-ups. You know, most professional basketball players can jump and get to the rim, but some players make it look effortless. And when I was watching Joel Kindred during warm-ups, when he would jump to do some dunks in the warm-up, effortless watching him get off the ground.
Yeah, there's just a way that some guys move and glide around the court where you go, okay, that's a basketball player. And he's not particularly tall, he's not particularly strong, but he's wiry and he's athletic, and he's just got that way to move, and he's very, very quick, and all of his movements and explosive, and so he's just special in that way.
Doug Herring making the nice move inside. One thing, getting to watch Doug Herring up close and personal, you realize just how fearless he is when it comes to going inside. It doesn't matter how much humanity is going to be defending against him. He has no problems taking it strong to the basket.
He's a very smart guy, and every move is made with a purpose from Doug Herring. There's no hesitating on him, and no hesitating on Nick Evans with a left-handed slam in the key.
The big man takes it inside. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm a Celtics fan, but every time I look at Nick Evans, I think Brian Scalabrine comes to mind.
Well, he needs your hair color.
That shot from the baseline, and look at Evans. Great position to grab that rebound, and now here's Doug Herring. Brings it up to the floor, cuts to the middle, puts it to Evans. He likes to put it up from out there, and Evans points the three-fingered arrow and says, take that.
For all you ladies out there, Mr. Squires came back from summer break with a different hair color.
Well,
He's
you
got
know,
that Scalabrine red look.
There were so many new looks and new faces on the Magic. I want to change it up a little bit. Nick Evans to the left hand strong, and Evans looks over at his coach at his bench with the big grin and says, how do you like that?
Maybe he got the message. He was subbed out late in that first half, and I talked about it. Mashak Lufiel was eating his lunch, and he came out in the start of the second half with a purpose, and he is making a meal out of the front court of the Halifax Hurricanes right now.
Well, I think Mike Leslie saw exactly what's been going on, especially the last two possessions with Evans kind of doing what he wanted out there, and he immediately calls a timeout.
But the pace is quicker. We talked about it. Get into something early. Halifax was sitting back, getting into the defense. Moncton wasn't pushing the pace. Moncton wasn't forcing the issue. You got more talent on the backcourt. Use it. Push that ball up the floor. Get those. Use your screens. Use the pin downs for Corey. Create some havoc in there. Create some space. It creates some space in the key, and they've been using that space effectively to start the second half.
There you see Coach Joe Salerno. Had a chat with him on our final off-season podcast the other day, and you know, it's on his mind. He loves coaching. He loves what he's doing, but it's on his mind that he's been to a championship series, but he's never won a championship in the NBL Canada. And I really think that, look, all teams want to win a championship, but you almost get this feeling in the air around this Moncton Magic team this year that it's almost championship or bust.
Well, yeah, and it's a big year for the Moncton as a franchise. I mean, last year was the first time we've been to the playoffs in a long time. It was hands down the best year that Moncton professional basketball has seen. But it still felt a little short. The franchise still felt like they were going to get past Halifax and get into a finals matchup with London, and it didn't happen. And I think it's the franchise just as a whole, coaching staff, front office just went, let's go all out. Let's bring in whoever we need to. And Joe was fearless in the offseason, Coach Salerno. Jahi Carson wasn't a guy he thought he could get, really, when he started talking to him, but he thought, forget it, let's go for it. And he went after him, and he got him. And pairing him with a guy like Corey Allman, and then finding a guy like get in the ear of a guy like Gentry Thomas, and bringing in a strong Canadian like that. And like, the talent is just undeniable, and they've gone all out to bring it in.
And a foul away from the play over in the corner. I think that's going to be another on Jordan Washington. If so, that's going to be his third.
I think they're calling it a double foul. on himself and Wayne McCullough. And Jordan Washington is very demonstrative whenever something positive or negative happens on the basketball floor.
So here is Washington now with Evans on him. The 225s faced up for a minute. Here's Kindred. Joel leans in. Jump shot at the shot clock buzzer's no good. McCullough with the strong rebound and then lobs it over the head of Doug Herring, and they turn it right back over to the Halifax Hurricanes. 9:28 to go in the third quarter. It is now a double-digit lead. First time that the Magic have been in front by double digits. 49-39 is your score. Clinkscales calmly brings it over the timeline now. Corey Almond staring at him like I stare at a meal on my cheat day. Here's Ando now from the corner, and it's good. Ando, who had the range in the first half, finds the range there from outside the arc.
Yeah, he is dangerous, and that is a pretty shot that he's got there, and it's a high release, and he's really athletic too.
I said 3, but they give him credit for just
It's
the 2.
yeah.
Had a toe on the line. Here's Corey Allman now. Steps around the screen, up into the air. Not sure what he was trying to do with it, if that was intentional or not. Down to the floor. Look at Corey diving in. And then kind of a moment of levity there as Ando fell right on top of Corey, trying to grab the ball away, but both players come up smiling.
That's important, though. That's the reason you go all out for those balls. That he didn't earn the ball back this time, but another jump ball might happen late in the fourth quarter. You never know, and that possession will come to be very important. But Corey is a guy that came back in unbelievable shape. Like, he worked unbelievably hard in the offseason. We'll talk a little bit more about that. When I had a little offseason chat a few days after his child was born this summer, I mean, he was up at 4 in the morning because he knew that's when he had to get in his workout because the baby was going to be up at 6 and he was going to have to take care of her.
McCullough, bounce pass inside to Denzel Taylor, and Denzel, he's a rebounding machine, but he can also score like that when given the chance inside.
And Denzel's another guy that put in a lot of work in the offseason. He's came back in unbelievable shape too. Also, though, worked on his offensive game a lot to be able to get those, to be a better finisher around the rim, and hopefully eventually, he's not there yet, but eventually move his game out to the perimeter a little bit where he can be a dependable jump shooter as well. But right now, he's an effective finisher in the around the rim for sure.
So that's 3 personals now on Nick Evans, 4th team foul for Moncton here in the fourth quarter. And at the line, hitting the first is Jordan Washington. So 51-42. See if Washington here can hit the back end, and he does, so a good trip there for Jordan. And now Halifax trail by 8. Doug Herring brings it up the floor. He's being watched closely by Kindred. Herring now calls for Evans to come a little closer. Now Herring gets it right back to Evans. Thought about the shot, decides to take a few steps in, rattles it around, can't get the Avenir center roll. Ando with the rebound, and here comes Halifax with pace back the other way. Clinkscales came up fast, then put the brakes on, now takes it straight in. Circus shot won't go, and Denzel Taylor with the rebound. Pace the other way, McCullough, Corey for 3! Dial it up, no! Denied by the operator, back the other way, Clinkscales. Bounce pass inside, Washington leans back, and that shot is no good, and Clinkscales shows his frustration.
Yeah, and Cliff's used to playing with guys that are great finishers, and he knows that Washington's going to be kind of probably the guy that, as he gets his legs underneath him, probably finishes that shot. He's known to be a great finisher in his college career around the rim, and he's just doesn't seem to have his feet underneath him here in the early going in his career. But I mean, you look at his career in college. He played at Iona, which is a high level Division I program, goes to the NCAA tournament on a regular basis, and he was an 18-7 guy as a senior there. I mean, that's numbers that that's nothing to seize at in a league like that, and that's so you know the pedigree of this guy, and you got to expect he's going to have a big season here in Halifax.
Denzel inbounds to Doug Herring. 51-44. Halifax has cut this once double-digit lead, now down to 7. Denzel to his left, hands off to Tate. Isaiah Tate now circling over to the right. Poole watching him. Tate straights it strong to the baseline, leans back on that baseline, and they're going to get Poole for the foul.
And they're doing that kind of dribble handoff action, or the Magic, that kind of got them bogged down a little bit, but their spacing seems to be a little bit better so far here in the second half. They've got that on the opposite, on the weak side of the floor, guy sent all the way to the corner, giving that ball handler a little more space with which to operate, and with the talented guys that the Magic have at the backcourt, even Isaiah Tate, who's the 6th guard off the bench, and a guy like him as your 6th guard off the bench that makes for an impressive array of talent. So you give these guys space to operate like that, and they're going to get themselves to the line.
Tate now 3 for 3 from the line in the game, looking for his 9th point on 4 for 4 from the line, and he is good. So 4 for 4 from the free throw line, 9 points on the night for number 11 in white, Isaiah Tate. Back to a 9-point lead inside, and that shot no good there as Kindred put it up, and Tate runs right into the chin of Mike Poole, and Tate, he's smiling, and Poole not so much.
And he was tough defensively on that possession too, Scott. Sometimes you think it's kind of fruitless running hard into a screen, doesn't get any results for you, but what he did was he made Joel Kindred take a different angle by fighting so hard, and Kindred had to stop, collect himself, and go up, and that enabled the defense to recover really well. And not only did he do that effectively, but he also got the rebound.
And look at that Doug Herring with the sweet bounce pass assist, and nothing but Evans to do but go up and flush it down.
How many big guys have been the finisher off a pass like that from Doug Herring in this league over the years?
6:27 left to play here. Moncton has stretched it back out to double digits. Now the lead is 11 as Herring steps around the defender. Look at Doug Herring. Corey in the corner. This time, yes! Call it up. Long distance. This time the operator says, sure, I'll put it through, Corey, 3 times.
When they push the ball like that, you can almost see Doug Herring going, which guy am I going to go to? I got 4 options here. I don't know. I'll just pick, you know what, Corey in the corner for a 3. I guess that's what I'll go with.
Corey again, just a big night the other night, 29 points, 7 rebounds as well for Corey.
Yep, and Isaiah Tate loving the contact. Look at that. Popping right back to his feet, sticking his tongue out. He's run himself hard into screen after screen as Isaiah Tate trailing Mr. Kindred around, making life tough on him.
A couple of players on Halifax as well with 3 fouls now, Jordan Washington and Mike Poole. And look at Doug Herring again, not shy about going into a crowd, and he gets up, and I'm going to use it for the first time this season. He had a little stank face, Dave.
Not for the last time, Scott, will we hear that?
Well,
for sure.
Listen, definitely not. We got 19 more home games in the regular season after this.
No, but you see the difference in aggression so far in this half from the Magic. I mean, they're turning the corner, they're going downhill, and they're attacking, and that's the way when you got talent like this. Just keep attacking, good things are going to happen. And Doug's gotten himself to the line. He's having a big third quarter.
Well, all of a sudden, as Herring hits that, the lead now up to 15, and it looks like the Joel Kindred experiment is over, at least for now, in the third corner, as Meshach Lufiel getting ready to check back in. And 2 for 2 on that trip for Doug Herring, and the lead now up to 16 as the Magic have hit 60 points here with 5:53 to go in the third quarter.
Yep. Washington subs out as well, and for Lufiel. And Mr. Kadar Edwards back on the floor as well. Had himself a solid first half.
Ando gives that ball off to Edwards. Edwards looking for somewhere to go. 9 seconds on the shot clock.
Edwards had 7 points in the first half, but also 6 boards.
Want to give a big shout out as well. We mentioned Taya Bailey, who's the in-house announcer for the Moncton Magic this season. His brother Colin back in Halifax watching the broadcast this evening. So I want to give a big shout out to Colin. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it.
And we were informed that he says that we're the best broadcasting team in the league, and I just want to tell him that he's my favorite Bailey brother. I mean, it's not even close, really.
Well, see. Smart on my part. I know with Canada Post currently with rotating strikes, I sent the check to him via FedEx, so he definitely got it.
Smart.
Doug Herring strong again inside. He goes up there against Edwards and Lufiel. And is there anyone that Doug Herring won't go into the lane against?
Well, I don't know. Let's. We haven't found anybody yet, so I don't think there's anybody out there that he won't. But I mean, Doug off the bounce, he's just clever. He makes the right play every time, Doug Herring. And when you talk about him being a leader and a winner, he just makes the right play. I mean, he's amongst the league leaders in assists every year and also assist to turnover ratio. When you have the ball in your hands that much and you're turning the ball over that little and creating plays for your teammates, that's a hard line to walk for a professional point guard, and he does it as well as anybody in this league.
Doug Herring now. Should mention as well, not sure if it's just a glitch with the new location being here at the Avenir Center, but there were several issues for some of us connecting our devices to either data or Wi-Fi. So typically we would have access to live stats and be able to keep you a lot more up to date on points, fouls, things of that nature, but we currently don't have access to live stats. So we do our best to keep you updated as we go along, but what we can tell you is that with 4:43 to go in the third quarter, it's the Moncton Magic with a 62-46 lead over the Halifax Hurricanes. And the Moncton Magic, they haven't done it with flash and dash. They've just kind of done it with yeoman-like work.
Yeah, it hasn't been a flashy, you're right, a flashy display so far. A couple deep threes from Corey, but yeah, not just kind of doing the little things here in this third quarter that they didn't do in the first half.
And Lufield had a couple of attempts at it, but with the Asamoah and Evans underneath, and 3 more for Corey.
And Corey's saying, I can add a little flash and dash to the mixture. Get this crowd into it a little bit more. If anybody's going to do it, it's going to be me.
And stepping in to quiet the crowd, at least for a moment, was Jamel Taylor with the 18-foot jump shot. Here's Herring now. Stops it up. Surveys the floor. Calls for Asamoah to come to the inside. Gives it off to Evans from way downtown off the front of the rim. And it's rebounded by Jamel Taylor. Taylor looking sharp, wearing those sports glasses. Gets it off to the headband wearing number 10, Kadar Edwards. Lufield outside to. Got it into the hands there for a moment of Ando. Back to Lufield in traffic. Shot clock winding down. 4 seconds on it. That shot too strong out of the hands of Duvivier. And it goes out of bounds right into the scorer's table. Bounces around off a couple of people. I think Taya Bailey got the first hand on that, Dave.
Yeah, but, he doesn't have a great pair of hands, so it slipped right through his fingers. Anybody that's played with him in men's league knows that's the deal with him. That's okay.
You know for sure his brother Colin's going to text him and tell him you said that.
Of course he is, and I don't mean a word of it.
So here is Doug Herring. No one on the floor has a more intense look than number 9 in white, Doug Herring Jr. He cuts to the right. Nice pass to Marshall. Bobbled it for a minute, then leans in, and they're going to say no. They wave it off as they're going to call Marshall for the foul, saying that he threw an elbow heading into the paint.
Well, we have one referee in the building that has a high propensity for offensive foul calls tonight, and I haven't agreed with a terrible number of them, but they are going both ways, so we're not saying anybody's getting the short end of the stick here, that's for sure.
And you talk about who might be a leader and so many potential step-up players on this team.
Yep.
There's no question that Corey Allman is one of them. After that foul was called on Marshall, as we see Tate go strong to the bucket, and Marshall was upset. It was Corey Allman who immediately went over, had a quick word in the air of Zeke Marshall, gave him a little tap and said, it's all right, next play.
Oh, yeah, it's clear that Corey's going to be the leader, both in the locker room and on the floor for these guys this year. It's absolutely clear. And I think Coach Salerno's over talking to his guys. Don't worry about these offensive foul calls. Keep doing your thing. Keep being physical. It's all going to work out. And Zeke came back and made a wonderful block at this end of the floor, reacted really positively to Corey's encouragement, and it had an absolutely brilliant outlet pass, kind of a Kevin Love-esque kick ahead to Isaiah Tate to give him the shot in the open floor.
Tate, the southpaw is good, and got the old gunslinger action going there as he jumps off the line.
And he's a character too, and he's a kind of plays to the crowd, and another guy that just everybody really likes. And he's had a solid night tonight as Mr. Tate.
3 minutes to go in this third quarter. Moncton comfortably in head by 19, and called right over on that far sideline as Ando is in the middle of it, and Ando is going to pick up another foul.
And Edward Asamoah, too, getting some run here tonight. He only had 2 minutes in the opening game. Has had a lot more run tonight with some banged-up issues there for the Magic, and hasn't looked out of place at all. Hasn't scored yet his first points, but I think what you look for from rookies like him is, do they look out of place physically? Do they look like they're in place? They look like they're in place defensively, and he looks really, really solid at that end of the floor. Getting his hands on some balls, playing physical, and doing a good job at the defensive end of the floor, and that's kind of what you look at. And he's going to be able to at least contribute on that end.
69-48, the lead now at 21. Seemingly out of nowhere, this game was pretty tight almost all along, but don't look now with 2:33 to go. Moncton has really jumped into a comfortable lead here. That shot bounced off a couple of fingertips, and it comes down into the hands of Kadar Edwards.
Oh, the eraser, Mr. Marshall.
Here's Tate in the open floor. Calm little lay-in, and Herring just follows up and hangs off the rim for good measure. A couple of more for Tate, and Moncton now pulling away with it. DeVivier, he'll just spin away from the key, get it outside. Long range shot put up there. Letting it go is Jamel Taylor, and it falls short, and now Corey will just take it and bring it up the floor slowly as we cross inside 2 minutes to play in this third quarter. 23-point advantage for Moncton. Here's Allman now. Nice little step to the inside, gives it off to the corner for Tate, and Tate rattles it in, looks to the bench and says, "Hey, coach, thanks for bringing me on board."
Yeah, they're just getting run over right now are the Hurricanes, and a buzzsaw are the Magic here this half, and a clever little play by Tate ahead to Corey.
Corey bounces it off.
That would have taken the roof off the place.
It
That
would have,
down.
and you just get the sense now, with the lead 74-48 and the things going the way that they've gone here in the last 7 or 8 minutes, that the Moncton Magic are just out there having fun right now. That last play where Tate kind of tipped it ahead and got it up to Corey, even though Corey didn't hit it, it was almost like it was just pick-up basketball.
And the thing that's starting to bear itself out here is in this quarter, and it did in the third quarter down Halifax too, is the physical advantage that the Magic have. You look at a guy like Taylor on the line here now, great pedigree. He was a fourth leading three-point shooter in the nation in the NCAA in his senior year. Fourth most accurate three-point shooter. Great defensive player, all defensive team in his conference as a senior as well. But he just looks almost out of place against this Magic backcourt. He's a smaller guy, and the Magic are so strong in the backcourt. Great size, great length, and this physical advantage superiority is really bearing itself out in this quarter.
Well, we talked about the young man at the line now, shooting free throws, Wayne McCullough, as Jamel Taylor picked up his second foul. But interesting story. Coach Salerno bringing him on this season, but he and Coach Salerno go way back. A couple of years ago, when McCullough was looking to break into basketball, Coach Salerno was down on a recruiting trip in Texas, and an agent called Coach and said, "Hey, Coach, can you make this little trip out to a little side town there outside of Houston to see this kid named Wayne McCullough?" And Coach was like, "Oh, I don't know. Can you bring him to the combine tomorrow?" Anyway, long story short, Coach said, "I put enough credence in this agent that I went down." Long story short, hard for me to do, but they went to Wayne's school gymnasium in July in Texas, worked out in about 110-degree heat. Coach almost fainted. Wayne McCullough was gassed, but the bottom line is Coach was impressed, and a couple of years later, after that workout in Tomball, Texas, Wayne McCullough reunited with Coach here in Moncton.
Absolutely. And he's happy to have him. And he said, he was a great pregame interview that I had. Heck of a nice guy is Wayne. And Coach is really pleased to get him kind of last minute. He was cut by a G League team. Gave him the opportunity to get for Coach to get him here with the Magic, and Coach is excited. He really feels like it's just a matter of time before he breaks out.
And as Amoa breaks out the three-pointer right there, pulls the arrow out of the quiver and shoots it into the crowd. And the Moncton Magic right now just having some fun.
Goes to the Jamal Murray fellow Canadian bow and arrow celebration, does Eddie.
From outside, Edwards couldn't get it to drop, and right now, nothing really going the way of the Halifax Hurricanes as the quarter comes to an end. And Dave, I know it's a different version of the Halifax Hurricanes with the new faces we've talked about, but when was the last time you saw a Halifax Hurricanes team here in Moncton get held to 48 points through 3 quarters?
Yeah, and you said it, it's a different Halifax squad, and I don't think the squad we're seeing tonight is going to be the squad you see in January, February, March. You look at that bench, you see Tyrone Watson sitting there. You look at that bench, you see Dominic Cheek sitting there, who's a guy that was in the Magic training camp and was a late cut just because of numbers. He's a quality guy, very high-quality guy to be sitting over the bench. They've got injuries galore over there a little bit. So Joel Kindred kind of in and out of the lineup tonight a little bit, which he's probably not going to be. I think they're kind of treating it this way, Coach Leslie, a little bit as almost an extended kind of exhibition season. Knowing how the playoff structure works this year, knowing how you're pretty much probably going to qualify for the playoffs unless you're the last place team, looking for the future here a little bit. I think he's got kind of longer view in mind. Not that he didn't think he could stick with the Magic here in this building at all, but I think once they got rolling downhill here, I think he's kind of accepted a little bit how this game's going to go. And look, these teams are just right now in two different places. Veteran-laden, rookies in a new league, and there's going to be some bumps in the road that way.
Well, we've seen what Halifax has done in this game. Off the top right now, who do you think the leading scorer is through 3 quarters for Halifax?
For the Hurricanes, would that be Mr. Edwards? No.
Kadar Edwards, 9 points.
Wow.
4 players for the Moncton Magic.
Almost like I'm watching the game or something.
I know. 4 players for the Moncton Magic in double figures. Corey Almond with 13. He's 3 of 7 from outside the arc. Doug Herring Jr. with 14. Nick Evans with 13. The leading scorer for the Magic and in the game right now, Isaiah Tate with 16 points on 4 of 6 shooting, 2 of 3 from the three-point line. A perfect 6 for 6 from the line for Isaiah.
Yeah, he's been great. And a guy like him, I mean, really came down. We talked about numbers game with Dominic Cheek being a late cut. Ari Stewart was a late cut, who was certainly capable of sticking in this league. There are guys that the Magic had to get rid of that you're probably going to see pop up on other teams in this league, like Dominic Cheek did. So, I mean, anybody that made the roster this year, they had to fight to get there, and there's a reason that Isaiah Tate's here.
And just a quick stat right now from the floor, Halifax through 3 quarters shooting a paltry 31.3%. Certainly more respectable and a better result for the Moncton Magic. They're shooting just below 50% at 46 through 3 quarters. So here we go, a big lead for the Moncton Magic. Ball inside to Zeke Marshall, and Marshall spin move underneath as he went up against Lewfield. We've seen those two gentlemen come together a few times tonight.
And Zeke doesn't go too long without having a smile on his face, and that's kind of refreshing. He can get a little frustrated and has that kind of what did I just do look, but he quickly replaced by a smile, and he's a hard worker on the defensive end of the floor, and that's why his teammates, part of why the teammates love him.
DeVivier bangs one in, and that is dearly needed by the Halifax Hurricanes to start this 4th quarter.
Yeah, he's a parking lot range guy. DeVivier seems to be, from the game tape I watched and from these first 2 games. He can make shots. He can get buckets. He's going to be a guy that's probably going to get rookies. They tend to achieve consistency through some reps. And that's the kind of guy that's going to be a better middle and the end of the year than he is right now for this team.
Gentry Thomas gets it to the corner for Allman. Money from downtown. Corey gets out the phone and calling it up one more time as Corey again.
I think that ankle checks out. I think he's passed the test on that ankle.
Ando gets it inside to Kadar Edwards, and Edwards makes a strong move, and well, he's the leading scorer. He's also been really good tonight for Halifax, number 10 in blue.
Yeah, he really seems like he belongs, and athletically, he's not a great shooter, but he brings so much else to the table athletically, and he doesn't back down. He's a worker. 1, 2, 3, 4 efforts. We've seen him on the boards. We've seen him defensively put that 2nd, 3rd, and 4th effort in. So he's a guy that's going to be a keeper here for the Hurricanes as well.
Edwards rattles it in from the line. So the lead still big, though. 30 points for the Moncton Magic. Gentry Thomas, the Canadian rookie, the big smile on his face when he signed the contract, put a picture on his Instagram. A bigger smile you won't see than Gentry Thomas had. And it looks like we're going to have a hand check here called on DeVivier.
And here's another part that you're going to see a little bit more of Corey Almond this year is putting that ball on the floor. He was a Clay Thompson-ish esque guy last year, catch and shoot. But he's added that game a little bit of that strength this year as Kadar Edwards gets the bounce, and go. But he's added a lot of strength to his upper body. He feels a lot more confident putting that ball on the floor and attacking, taking that contact, and still getting to the rim.
Here's McCullough from downtown, and he bangs it in. And to finish, a neat little anecdote, with Wayne McCullough. I asked him, I said, so where exactly is Tomball, Texas? He said, well, it's close to Hockley. And I said, Hockley? He said, well, I'm a country guy. He said, not a lot of people from where I'm from as that 3 ball goes in.
The range from Taylor.
But he did say that Tomball, Texas is where Jimmy Butler is from, recently traded from the Minnesota Timberwolves. So Jimmy Butler now playing for the Philadelphia 76ers from Tomball, Texas. That's a pretty good claim to fame right there for Tomball, Texas.
Absolutely.
Wayne McCullough and Jimmy Butler.
Listen, I'm a Bulls fan. I'd say that you can brag more about Wayne McCullough than Jimmy Butler right now. But that's just me being bitter. I'm okay.
Nothing wrong with that. I'm a Montreal Canadiens fan. Our entire fandom is based on bitterness. Didn't you know?
Are they eliminated from playoffs yet?
Almost.
Okay.
Tate from downtown dials it up long distance. Isaiah Tate looking good. He might have to get in on Corey's long distance plan, making a family plan from downtown.
And Isaiah was a guy who was a top 40 recruit coming out of high school when he was going into college and performed really, really well his first 2 years in college, and then kind of got an injury and still carved out a pro career, but his first couple years overseas played really well and then got another injury and sort of hasn't played in about 3 years. And apparently it was the lob attempt goes awry. It was an Achilles injury, which are tough to come back from, but he's done a good job. He's worked really hard, and it's been a 3 years since he's played at a high level, but here he is.
And nothing wrong with having a little fun, but the Moncton Magic have almost gone a tiny bit globetrotters right now, and I think Coach Joe Salerno wants to kind of put a capper on that and say, look, it's okay to have fun. You've earned this lead, but it's a long regular season. We've got to play these guys again, but you've got to play 38 more regular season games. You don't want to get into bad habits. You want to stick to your plan.
And professional basketball players have pride, and they're going to have long memories. They're going to remember if you kind of goof around with them and make a joke out of a game. And so, yeah, you want to have that professionalism too. And I think he's probably going to. You're right, talking to him about cleaning him up. But just to finish on Isaiah, he was the first recruiting class at George Mason after George Mason's famous Final Four run, the first mid-major team to get to the Final Four. He was that next recruiting class at George Mason, and you look online and read some stories about what his teammates said about him and the school paper in George Mason, which you have access to, and he was very, very highly thought of, not just as a basketball player, but as a person and as a student athlete. And you see that a lot on the resumes for both players on both of these teams.
Well, and you make a good point talking about the pedigree of a lot of these players. Fans of the NBL Canada love the game for a reason, but if you're a casual fan or if you have friends that have never watched the game, talk to them about it and tell them some of the stories of the players who play in this league. A lot of them played very high-level NCAA Division I. Look at a guy like Billy White, who took a San Diego State team along with Kawhi Leonard to their first tournament appearance in the history of the school.
And to balance it out, on the Halifax side, Malcolm DeVivier, we talked about a little bit, went to won a bronze medal at the FIBA Americans under-16s with Canada. And I'm going to bring it out, Scott.
Do it.
Zeke Marshall hates rims. Zeke Marshall hates rims. He was looking through the hoop.
When Zeke Marshall goes up, he is actually, you're right, looking down through the cylinder. Almost unfair to the rim. And that shot from outside, looking very good on the hands of Jamel Taylor.
But Taylor was a guy we talked about. He's got that deep range, that fourth in the NCAA and three-point percentage as a senior.
Gentray Thomas off the mark from distance. Rebounded well by Joel Kindred. Kindred zips it off to the right corner, and Clinkscale steps out of bounds, and he knew it right away. He looked down. He knew he was out.
Mike Poole's had a tough night again. He's usually, especially in this city, he's been a miracles/magic killer. And he's struggled for the second straight game tonight.
Asamoah being watched by Ando. Ando got a hand on that. McCullough gets it to Gentray Thomas. Fakes once, fakes twice, puts it on the floor, steps back, third time, the charm! Right there, Gentray Thomas! Trey indeed.
You saw the talent level he has. Coach Salerno, when he brought him in, says he has the talent level to play right now. The only question with Gentray is he going to learn our systems? Is he going to get the physicality? And I'd say, Scott, the early returns are good on Gentray. Mike Poole heard me talking about him.
I had him on a podcast when he signed with the team, and I asked him about his team, or about his name, Gentray, and he said it's kind of because his mom said he was a gentle child, so it's kind of from the term gentle,
Yeah.
Gentray. And it is Gentray. I did check with him, in case you're wondering again, fans.
I wasn't wondering. You told me already.
93-62. Halifax Hurricanes on the road had a very good start, kept it very close. The teams just were trading the lead back and forth through the better part of the first half and early third quarter. But then just Halifax kind of fell under the spell of the Moncton Magic, and the Magic pulled away as we see Kindred get it going from outside.
And he's a talented guy. I talked about him being able to score on all three levels. He gets his shot off a little bit slowly, and it's kind of a set shot, so he needs some time, but if he gets it, he'll make it.
McCullough missed this gentle hook shot. Marshall tried for the follow-up, no good. Here's a lob inside. Trying to battle for it inside there was Devontae Elliott, and
Great
he didn't
hands.
win that battle.
Great hands from Gentray. Knocked out of the big guy's hands and off him out of bounds.
And just because you love Jimmy Butler so much, one final anecdote on that whole Wayne McCullough, Tom Ball, Texas, Jimmy Butler story. Wayne telling me as we see that shot from the outside, good. Isaiah Tate again. He is good from downtown.
Isaiah, as it gets down to late here, Scott, we've got to start deciding our player of the game.
Gentray Thomas with an exclamation point off the feed from Tate. And it is Globetrotter time right now in the Avenir Center, except they're not wearing red, white, blue, and yellow. They're wearing silver, black, and white. It's the Moncton Magic.
And I was saying before I was rudely interrupted by another Gentray Thomas throwdown, it's getting to the time where we have to start talking player of the game here, Scott. And I think Isaiah Tate on cue, as I was starting to think about it, drain another three. I think he's our guy.
I'd say that that is a very, very fair pick indeed. The young man from Marlborough, Maryland, who attended George Mason, could have his first Moncton Magic home player of the game. But I got to finish my Jimmy Butler story.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Wayne McCullough was
You're
very happy to
rudely
tell me that just recently, actually, Jimmy Butler traveling back to Tomball, Texas, to have his jersey retired by Tomball High School.
Okay, then.
That's a pretty neat moment, right?
Okay.
Have you ever had your high school jersey retired?
I have not.
Me either. My high school got torn down,
Anybody from
so
Review High is listening.
that's right.
I mean, I don't want to say it's not. I don't want to say it's inappropriate or anything, but I mean, you know.
Here's
I
Joel.
did okay.
We can start a campaign on Twitter for you immediately as Kindred can't get the roll. McCullough brings it up the floor for the Moncton Magic. They are 2 points away from hitting the century mark, but that interior pass intercepted. Here's Poole down the floor, off the glass, and Poole with the strong move inside. He'll draw the foul and go to the line to shoot a couple.
And of course, being chosen as player of the game gives you the ultimate honor of being interviewed by yours truly after the final buzzer. So fans, please stick around and take in that moment of brilliance from myself.
I look forward to it. Maybe we'll retire your headset.
Retire my headset after it's in.
Poole. And look, Halifax Hurricanes fans, I know that this is not obviously a result that you want in any game, in particular against a division rival like the Moncton Magic. But listen, with Coach Mike Leslie, the organization from top to bottom, and leadership like Tyrone Watson, Cliff Clinkscales, and Mike Poole, and some of the talent around those guys, this team will be A-OK. Okay.
Yeah, you look at the age of these guys too. I mean, these guys are fresh out of school. You look at Ando's 24 years old, Malcolm Devinier's 23 as a rookie. Kadar Edwards is 25 years old. He's only been out for a couple years. It's not a lot of Clinkscales style veterans on this team, and so there's plenty of reasons to think that this is not a lost season after 2 games by any means. I mean, this is a couple tough ones, but there's better things to come for them for sure, Scott.
And the flip side of that coin is a very good start to the season for the Moncton Magic. Look, let's face it, expectations are high. The
Very
players have championship or bust on their mind, not for bulletin board material for any other team, but they truly believe in themselves. Coach Joe Salerno is hungry for it. The organization is hungry for it. And they knew coming out against Halifax, who are, again, a traditional rival, regardless of who's wearing the Hurricanes uniform, to come out and get a couple of pretty impressive wins to start the season. A great way to start for the Hurricanes.
And
for the Magic.
And by the way, they're down 3 players. I mean, you know, this is about as encouraging a start as you can get from a team that's in the position that they are.
And McCullough, he goes flying in strong against two defenders and took a hack underneath, and he's down on the floor in a bit of discomfort right now. So we'll see if he feels well enough to get off the deck here and shoot a couple of free throws. But Wayne McCullough just took it upon himself to sacrifice the body and go straight into the lane. So under 5 minutes to play, and I kind of just broke my own rule as moments ago I talked about Moncton winning their first two games. There's still 4:58 left, so I always get on other broadcasters when they start talking about the end result before the game is already over.
All right.
But
4:58, it's a 30-point game. I think we're okay.
Well, yes.
We're on safe ground, I think, Scott.
But in fairness, I do get on other broadcasters when they do that. So
Yeah,
if I were at home listening to myself right now, I'd be talking to myself saying, stop that.
Well, this is all getting very complicated and very talking about
Like Back to the Future.
Space-time continuum here we're talking about.
It's like Back to the Future when Michael J. Fox ran into himself. 4:52 left to play. Moncton 99, Halifax 69. Hurricanes on offense. Here's Poole. Gives it off. Washington. Strong move inside. Tried to go off the glass. No good. Rebound there by Kindred. Couple of players reaching in for it as Moa couldn't get it, and coming down with it is Washington. Washington strong underneath.
I'm telling you, there's not a play that goes by that Mr. Washington doesn't have some sort of an expression on his face. He's a demonstrative guy. I like him. He plays really hard. He's clearly very talented. He's got some soft feet down there. He's just not connected. He's not connected on the shots that looks like, at least watching him, his college tape that I did a little bit on YouTube, he's kind of short arm stuff that he normally is confident in finishing and finishes well around the rim. So I think that's something that's probably gonna come around for him if I had to guess.
Well, and to go back to the point we were making off the top of the broadcast for a lot of these Halifax Hurricanes players, you know, some of them it's their first kick at professional basketball, their first kick at this league. So the talent level, sometimes it takes a few games to kick in because they've got to find a comfort level first.
Mm-hmm.
Halifax now. Kindred works it over the outside. Nice exterior ball movement. Poole takes it inside off the side of the rim. McCullough with the rebound. And he lost the handle underneath, but a foul gets called.
And a guy like Jamel Taylor is another one. He's played very limited minutes these first two games, but you saw he's given a hint of what he can do. A couple of very deep threes here in this fourth quarter. Diminutive guy, but super quick. Known for his toughness in the NCAA. Known for his defense. I think he's a guy that's going to contribute. Look at that. Almost got himself a steal there. He's going to contribute more than he has in these first two games. Eventually.
Asamoah from outside. No good. Rebound there by Devontae Elliott. Nice job underneath the rim by 22 in blue Elliott. Kindred now gives it right back to Devontae. Here's Poole. Outside now Kindred. Cuts through the lane. Takes it strong off glass and in. Nice strong move. And then down to the floor heavily goes Joel Kindred. And he immediately kind of reached around for the lower back as we could hear the thud over here.
Looks like he's going to be all right. Just got his bell rung. But you see the athleticism that he possesses. Got way up in the air and was met at the highest height by Eddie Asamoah, who's got some hops himself.
Now, Dave, I know you're a student of the game. I know you love the game. The National Basketball League of Canada, for the most part, it's a fairly transient league. A lot of players in and out, a lot of movement, a lot of turnover of rosters for teams. Mm-hmm. And not only has it been Halifax and Moncton, but several teams around the league have seen that type of turnover. London has seen it, the Cape Breton Highlanders, the St. John's Edge, just to name a couple, a brand new team in the Sudbury Five. But doing a little bit of the research and checking on some of the other teams that you did, who do you look at to maybe be a couple of teams that will be in the conversation with Moncton in terms of talent on paper?
Well, listen, you can't ever discount London. The guys that London's brought in, and we've watched a little bit of their guys on YouTube as well. Undeniably, you can't deny the talent they have. Plus, they brought back Garrett Williamson. Plus, they brought back guys, Kyle Williams that played there for a very long time. So they've got lots of talent there. So you're never going to know. And they lost their last preseason game the other night on Thursday night to a Windsor team that collected some talent, and including some late cuts, a late cut from London, Richard Amarty. So they've got talent, all over the place in Windsor. So, but if I had to pick one that I'm pretty sure is going to be a challenger and a good rival here of Moncton, and one that you're going to love, is the St. John's Edge.
Well, it's always nice when you can bring back a Carl English, kind of the anchor to weigh that team in stormy seas. But again, as you said, they brought in a number of very good players. 2
league MVPs they got in that lineup. 2 former league MVPs. Gabe Freeman came back and signed up with them. They got Maurice Jones, point guard, all-star point guard from Windsor. I mean, they're loaded, and I think it's going to be. I think that rivalry is going to be a one to watch all year, and one that gets started this week.
Yeah,
opener.
Moncton Magic making the trip over to St. John's. I know that several players have never been to Newfoundland and Labrador, looking forward to the trip. I told Jahi Carson in particular that he's going to love it. And I said, Jahi, even if you're on the opposing team, I said, the fans in St. John's and in Newfoundland, they're going to love you. You're going to have a great time over there. 2:14 to go in the game. Comfortable lead for the Moncton Magic. And that shot is from well downtown. I think that might have been from Parade Square in Halifax as Jamel Taylor hits it.
Whatever that prescription is, I want it on those glasses.
First time we're seeing number 35 in white, Cordell Gentil, into the game. Another player that we haven't talked about tonight, but another quality pickup for the Moncton Magic. Here comes Poole. Up the floor, zips it over to that left side. Stepping in there is Taylor. Taylor trying to see if he still has the magic on that outside shot, but it's no good. And Gentrey Thomas now will just calmly jog the ball up the floor. No rush at all for the Moncton Magic. They'll just want to see the next 90 seconds tick away and take their record to 2-0. Here's Doug Herring Jr. backing in the defender. Outside for Tate. Downside for Gentil, trying to get his first points as a Magic player. Almost, but not quite. And up the floor comes the Halifax Hurricanes, Joel Kindred. Kindred steps around the much bigger Gentil inside, and Zeke Marshall says, no, thank you, not with in here.
And something that was indicative of the entire Magic second half on that last possession on the offensive end of the floor. Unlike in the first half where they overpassed or underpassed seemingly, they've made the correct decision on sharing the ball pretty much 100% of the time in the second half, and that was very, very nice ball movement that they made, and to get Mr. Gentil an open layup.
Jump shot from Devontae Elliott was short, but the follow by Washington was good. So Halifax, 22 points, and I guess for the Halifax Hurricanes, as Marshall didn't quite get skyward as much as he wanted to, but they've chipped away. This lead at one time was up over 30, and again, it's not going to take the sting out of a loss, but they haven't hung their heads. They've kept chipping away, and they've kept playing their game, and perhaps Moncton has maybe taken the foot off the gas a little, but again, you got to look for little things to be positive about, and that's something pretty good for Halifax. They've chipped away.
These guys have played ball for their entire lives. They know how the ups and downs and the ebbs and flows of the season go. It's 2 games in. They're not going to let themselves get too high or too low, and nor are the Magic going to let themselves get too high. They're not going to start looking in the mirror and saying, okay, and fitting their finger for the championship rings. I think this is there's some perspective that all these guys are going to have, and I think Coach Leslie and Coach Slater have been around the block enough to put that perspective on them if they don't have it. Nobody's going to get too high and too low over a 2-0 or an 0-2 record this early in the season. But look, this was a big game for the franchise of Moncton too. There's a big fan turnout tonight. Really impressive stuff on a Saturday night downtown here. They won the game convincingly. The crowd that turned out knows that they've got a squad that's going to be a contender based off this performance, I think. And we'll see. This is a big positive for the franchise in general, which can't be understood. I mean, you might think that sounds silly, but this was a decision to come to the Avenir Center that wasn't taken lightly by the city or the team, and was problematic in some ways. But it's really worked out well, and based on the crowd here and the performance of the Magic, has worked out extra well, I think.
Well, it's a kitchen party now in Moncton as the final few seconds tick away, and just to put a little bit of icing on top of the delicious cake that the Magic baked this evening, Zeke Marshall with the soft, little bucket at the end, and the Halifax Hurricanes fall to their division rival, the Moncton Magic. The final score, 104-78. And Dave, we've said it a couple of times, but a very good start to the Moncton Magic for the season, and they christen their brand new home, the Avenir Center, with their first win in their brand new building. And I think the fans were well entertained tonight, and let's hope they tell all their friends about it and they get an even bigger crowd in the rest of the regular season.
And tomorrow is going to be a very physical matchup with the Cape Breton Highlanders here tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. I was in attendance at the exhibition game the Highlanders came in and played, and that was as an intense an exhibition game as you're going to find, and I would be shocked if that didn't carry over into the first game tomorrow. They got a new coach down there. It's a very new roster down there, but some familiar faces. Jamal Reynolds from the all-rookie team, Bruce Massey from the all-star team, and some new faces, some talented new faces, some tough new faces. And they really gave the Magic all they could handle, and I think they will come around to the
And I'm drawing a blank, but the Halifax Hurricanes player, the veteran that went down to Cape Breton as well, Taquan Zimmerman.
Oh, Taquan Zimmerman.
Yeah, Taquan Zimmerman.
Sixth man of the year last year.
I had Tootsview in my head because again that's his name on social media. So every time I see him on Instagram, that's what I see. So
we're forgetting names left and right here tonight. Good Lord, poor Tyrone Watson.
Yeah, well, listen,
Taquan Zimmerman.
Tyrone Watson is just the flex to me. That's every time
We're thinking nicknames all the time. So stay tuned, fans. We're going to talk to Mr. Cade here at some point, I imagine.
And again, worth mentioning, this Moncton Magic team, as deep as they are and were tonight, two players in civilian clothes, Billy White and Jahi Carson. What other dynamic do they bring to this club? And how does Coach Salerno know who to put on the floor and when?
That's the stuff that's going to happen to work itself out. You talked about who's going to take the big shot down the stretch. That you've got to hope is going to work itself out. But look, it's an embarrassment of riches. We used the term earlier this evening, and it's apt again when you talk about who's going to get the shot late. When you talk about who's going to get the big minutes late, I mean, there's going to be all-star level guys sitting and watching